Welcome to Holiday Baking with the C&RC. Today we're going to be making a very simple sugar cookie recipe that only has a couple ingredients that you probably already have around the house. I have the recipe right here for me to follow along, but I will put it on the screen before we start so you can know what ingredients you'll need. So there are two things to do before we get started. The first is to preheat the oven. So this recipe calls for the oven to be preheated to 350 degrees. So I'm going to do that. The second thing to do before you get started with the ingredients is to wash your hands. So I'm also going to go do that. After you wash your hands, you can get started. So the first thing you're going to do is combine the two dry ingredients. So that is the baking powder, and then we need 3 cups of flour. Getting flour everywhere. 2. 3. So after you've combined the 2 dry ingredients, you just stir them around a little bit in this bowl. And then you set it aside until later. So for the next part, we move on to what are called the wet ingredients, and that is basically everything else that we're working with. So in this big bowl here, that's eventually going to go into the mixer right there, we're going to put 1 cup of butter. After the butter, then we need 1 cup of sugar, one cup of sugar, put that in the big bowl, and then to get it started, we're going to use the mixer. It's going to start off looking like this, and you're going to want to put the mixer on a decent speed, but not too high so that everything goes everywhere. After you've mixed that a little bit, then you add the other 2 ingredients, and that is 1 egg. Be careful when you're cracking it so you don't get any shells in there. You need the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. After you've added those 2 things, you mix it all up again until it's combined. It'll look like this. And then you have to add in the dry ingredients that we mixed earlier. You're going to want to add it in a little bit at a time. Set it off to the side and mix again. After you've mixed it and combined all the ingredients, it should look something like this. So now we have the dough. It might be easier to split it into 2 parts before you roll it out so we can make the shapes for the cookies. Okay, so I'm going to leave that mess with the mixer back there with Rudolph, and we're going to focus on rolling out the dough that we just made. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour onto the table. Make sure you wash the surface that you plan on using to roll out your dough. The flour on the table, and I'm going to put a little bit on our rolling pin as well. It just helps so that the dough doesn't stick to either surface because it is a little sticky. So you're going to grab maybe about half of the dough, put it down, grab your rolling pin, and roll it out. You want it to be not too thick and not too thin. A good amount is probably about 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you roll it in both directions so you can get as many cookies as you can out of each piece of the dough. You want to make sure it's flat and even in every spot so that the cookies cook all the way through. There we go. Now you'll grab your cookie cutters and make whatever shapes that you would like. So here I have a candy cane I'm going to use. Put it flat down on the dough, both hands, and squish it. And then you have your candy cane. Make sure that you have your tray that you're going to bake on right beside, so then you can just put the shape right onto the tray ready for the oven. Let's see, what else should I use? I have a snowman here I'm going to use. Comes right up. Put him right down on the tray. Make sure there's enough room in between the cookies on the tray so they don't run into each other. And then you're going to want to repeat for the rest of the dough with whatever shapes you'd like. Now that you have all of your shapes cut out and your tray is filled like this, you're going to want to put these in the oven for 10 minutes. But make sure you watch them just to make sure that your oven's not cooking a little fast or anything like that. You don't want them to be too brown too soon. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven. Make sure you set a timer for 10 minutes, and then you can roll out the next part of your dough and get ready if you have another pan, or you can get your icing ready while you wait for those to be done. So I just took that batch of cookies out of the oven. They are just a little bit brown around the edges and underneath, which is exactly what you want. I'm going to roll out a piece of wax paper over there and transfer them onto it so they can cool down. While we wait for the cookies to cool down, we're going to get our icing ready. I just have plain vanilla icing, and I have some food coloring here. As you can see, I already made the red icing. You don't have to add color to your icing at all if you don't want to. I just think it makes it a little bit more fun. So I'm going to go ahead and put a scoop here, and then I'm going to get my green so I can make some green icing as well. Put a couple of droplets in, however much you want to make the color as you'd like it. This is very green. Just mix it around, make sure you get all of the color in there. Just like that. So now that our cookies have cooled down, I'm going to go ahead and ice them. If your hands are clean, feel free to use your fingers. I'm just not going to do that because I don't want to get super messy. I'm going to spread it on with a spoon. There's no right or wrong way to do this, just make sure the cookie gets covered. Just like this. If you have any sprinkles that you want to add after, you can do that of course as well. I'm going to grab some green here for my tree.
just like so. Might actually be easier with your fingers if that's what you want to do. I'm gonna grab my sprinkles here and just put some all over the cookies, real gentle.
And here we have our finished product.